banjo. Know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers, episode 671, The Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Not into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're listening to this show, I mean,
You know.
Yeah. They've been screaming spoilers everywhere.
Yeah, if you're listening to a show called Real Spoilers,
with spoilers in our title
about a movie
so,
that's heavily spoiler rich.
I don't feel bad.
No.
Like that's... Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't roll right into this from Age of Adeline or something.
Right. Yes. One of our most popular episodes of all time.
Yeah.
I think it is.
For whatever reason.
We still don't know why.
I mean, I think that
it came out
it came out right before Age of Ultron.
Right.
So you got all the people that actually wanted to listen to Age of Adeline, people looking for Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And it just all combined into one.
It's the perfect storm.
They were smart. Storm. You know, it's like when people do SEO and write copy for certain keywords and stuff. Like Age of Adeline timed that perfectly.
But not really, because it's a totally different demo.
No, okay, but
you know
I'm
what I
just
mean?
saying, but just to get hits and the title to pop up, I don't know. It's bizarre the way that worked out. I mean, it worked, obviously. I don't think they came to us for Age of Adeline, on purpose.
I would concur. Yes.
No, that definitely did not happen.
I would agree wholeheartedly. So I guess before we dig in, let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
And this is Tom. Quick shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcast, Google, Spotify, wherever you get a podcast. You can
Not
get us.
Spreaker?
Not Spreaker.
Okay,
we're
it's dead.
boycotting Spreaker.
It died.
I swear, that was a thing, and you added us to Spreaker, supposedly. Come to find out, someone said we're not on Spreaker.
I don't know that.
How does that...
I thought you were the main investor in Spreaker.
I feel like I've been living a lie, because I've been purposely mentioning it to try to boost my stock. Come to find out, I'm not on it. I probably don't even own it at this point.
And it's got to be doing better than Google Podcasts.
Easily.
I saw the numbers for Google Podcasts, for the other show, for the clip out, and it was 75 downloads
if
for the month.
The clip out is doing 75 downloads, Real Spoilers is doing 3.
Yeah, I was
maybe.
just I was like, oh,
can
that's...
podcast do negative downloads?
Yeah.
Can they say take some of these other ones off?
They can download it and then undownload it. Yeah.
They push it back into their phone.
I think they delete it off the server.
Yeah.
They're like, this is not necessary.
So, shameless plugs. We can also, while you're there finding your podcast, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's always helpful. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Real Spoilers, where you can join the League of Show Sharers. People who were kind enough to share an episode this week include Chris Valls, who pointed out once again that Facebook is bad, and
Why?
it wasn't notifying me that he was sharing episodes, and so thank you for pointing that out. Heather Sachs, Brent Smith, Christopher Rex. That's a new one. Hello, Christopher. Tammy Sherman Powers, David Rojas, Julianne Jordan, Gabriel Lugo, Chris Williams, Colby Mack, Linda Wright, Spoiler Piece Theater, Kathia Woods, Ryan Terry from the Forza Crowd podcast, Chris Wilson, Ronnie Castle, In Session Film, Feel and Film, Binge Movies, Geek to Me Radio, Minority Report, and Mike, and Oscar. So thank you so much for sharing an episode. And finally, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content, and you help us out, and that's really nice of you.
I'm talking to my wife.
Oh, dear.
And
Are you in trouble?
No.
Do you have to leave?
No.
We've been through this before.
We might. Yeah, I know. We've all been kind of in this situation at one point on this podcast before. We might be doing a breakdown of Hawkeye. She actually sat down and watched Hawkeye.
Holy cow!
We're on coming. Last episode I think is this week.
You have a wife that wants to be involved in your hobbies?
I'm not saying she's I've broached the subject. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Interesting.
But if we do it, we're gonna put that on the Patreon.
It sounds like one of those little things that kind of snowballs. Like Joe's like, I mentioned there's a show called Hawkeye, and I mentioned I do a podcast. My wife acknowledged I exist. I think she's going to do the podcast on Hawkeye.
He's been working on this in a long time.
Long haul.
This is the same way normal men are like. Some chicks are into girls. I mean, I don't know. That's your jam. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Look, we can try it if you really want to. No,
I would hate for you to go through life just wondering what that would be like.
I purposely started the show with her in the room because I knew if I could get her for just give me 5 minutes, she would start watching the show, and it worked.
Yeah.
And now she's like, "Is there a new episode of Hawkeye?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah, Crystal's been liking it.
Comes out on Wednesday, so. If I can
she
talk
did
her
not
into it.
like WandaVision.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Which is
I was
really good.
indifferent on it.
I liked it.
It's all my favorite.
It just did. And so when we started Hawkeye, I was like, I want to watch it because it's Christmas time, and I don't want to watch this in February. So
Sure.
And she's like, okay. And
she watched some of Loki too, but she also is a big fan of Tom Hiddleston, so that worked.
Everybody's wife watched Loki. I hate to break it to you, but
so
we did get an email from somebody that listens to the show. Their wife emailed in, and we kind of
was it your wife?
It was not my wife.
Requested to be on the show for Hawkeye.
Jackie Dowdy emailed us and kind of said, that her husband Tom, who I think we've talked about before.
Yeah, I think we talked about him in the last one because he's talking about how many episodes he had listened to consecutively.
So he wasn't lying. He randomly has people writing in telling us how much he loves the show.
His wife said he listens every day and he's logged in 5,000 hours of Real Spoilers podcast, which is just bonkers. And I love you for that.
That must be on his Spotify.
Has to be. There's no other way.
Amazing.
So she asked that we give him a quick shout out for Christmas and give him, a big pat on the back for sticking through 5,000 hours of Real Spoilers. So Tom, not O'Keefe. Fantastic job.
Yeah.
Stay warm
Tom
out there.
hasn't listened to 5 minutes of this show.
No, I'm not listening now.
Yeah. Tom's probably playing Bubble Witch Saga. We can't see what he
that's
does on
true.
his computer, but I know he's
I've moved on to Best Fiends. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. And do you have to disclose #ad? Yeah, you can't just go throwing that around taking their money.
Well, they're not an advertiser anymore, but I still play it.
There we go. Very good.
Oh,
Wah,
no.
wah, wah.
I got sucked in, so that's
how they get you.
That's my game of choice now.
So Tom, stay warm.
I shared a screenshot of my Best Fiends when we were doing it. Like somebody was talking about. I was like, "Oh, here's what level I'm on." I shared it, forgetting that they had given us all sorts of like
power-ups,
in-game credit. And so somebody was like, "How do you have 37 days of free play? Like, how is?"
What do you?
I was like, they might have given us free time to play.
What do you mean?
Whoops. Sorry.
So Tom, stay warm. Thank you
you
for listening for as long as you have. You're one of our favorite fans.
Yeah.
Because if somebody else can say that they've listened to 5,000 hours of Real Spoilers,
that's a lot, man.
I challenge them to.
That's a whole lot.
We'll shout them out too.
I don't know what's he gonna do when he's caught up.
I don't know.
Start at 1.
You start at 1. Just restart the whole thing.
Clip out. We'll get him on a Peloton.
There you go.
I think if he's a postal worker, he's getting his
steps in.
He's getting his cardio in
for
the
sure.
Day. Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, definitely.
Yeah. So
there we go. So there you go.
Yes. So anyway, I guess that's all that. Let's dig into Spider-Man. I have one complaint about Spider-Man.
I have a couple.
I have one complaint.
Okay.
What is it?
In the early, maybe not the very opening, but real close to the opening, there's a montage, and you see J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
And he's
yep.
broadcasting in front of a green screen
in a basement.
Like basically his cell phone is capturing
which is great.
Which is a funny gag.
Yep.
And then for the entirety of the movie, it's a whole news network with mobile units and
I completely
multiple
agree
cameramen. And I was just like, what are we doing?
What happened?
You just set up he's a loser in his basement, and then for the rest of the movie, it's like a real deal news network.
I agree with you. That was weird.
Do you
that was
really
weird.
think so though? Because I feel like what they're trying. I mean, there are very similar real operations like that, and they do have money. Despite you'd think like who's giving this person money, but they look like they're doing it in a little home studio. But they do have like a crew and cameras that go out.
But there's a shot early in when they're showing a montage of like what's happened. And
he's like sitting in front of a green screen.
He's sitting like in his basement.
Yeah, sure.
but then the rest of the time, like there's like 2 professional cameramen that
he's
like
on like
move
a set
on rope, and it's a full on set.
I see.
It's not. So it's like
they went with that kind of joke like at first for the last movie, even like to carry in, and then for some reason with this movie they stepped it up and gave him a different
right.
studio.
And this movie takes place within minutes of the last movie,
so it wouldn't
it's,
be like
it's not like it's been 2 years in movie time since the last.
Like he got
movie.
fame and fortune for reporting on Spider-Man,
right?
Or
So
okay.
I mean, it's a small quibble.
Sure. Well, if
Other
that's
than
your,
I have
that's
other,
your biggest
other
problem.
than that, this is basically a perfect comic book movie.
Yeah, I don't. I have the other quibble is I'm just gonna say it now. It's the Venom thing.
No, the Venom thing's great.
No,
He's
it's
gone.
not. Right, he is gone. But then why would that little piece stay? Why would if Eddie Brock and the symbiote get zapped out, right? Why would that little piece on the bar stay behind?
Well, the symbiote is not a person.
But he's not.
So
But he's
maybe,
not. But it's a living entity from that universe.
right. But maybe it could stick behind because it's
Look,
not.
I don't care. And here's why I don't care.
Say it.
Because it gets Tom Hardy
Yeah,
out of this
That's what I was
universe,
just
exactly
saying.
right.
and it gives you
Yes.
Venom.
That's
so
Thank you.
You get Marvel some. But I agree with you. I'm just saying like that little
Yeah.
thing where like the entire character blips out.
But he's not a person, so I think there maybe could be at
Okay.
least for some
But
comic booky explanation.
I completely agree that somehow Marvel swindled Sony into
giving them Venom, but
Venom,
not
but
their
not their
Venom.
Venom.
Because
So
they're like, you want us
MC
to keep making these Spider-Man movies?
Yeah.
Like, you own the rights to it, but we've made these, and have you seen the box office?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
It's also funny because jumping ahead to the post-credit scene or the mid-credit scene, because the post-credit scene's a waste of time.
Yeah.
But the mid-credit scene, when you get Tom Hardy in the bar, that it's okay. It's just like even. Like, that's the first time I've ever enjoyed Tom Hardy as Venom.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I thought that scene was
his performance
was relatively amusing for what it was, and I mean, also nice that it was like 3 minutes of him and he was gone.
I wonder if
But-
the Venom guy filmed it because it's, I guess, probably the same location. You would think they would just film that at the same time.
But I don't. But I think a different guy wrote it. Is
I think
my
it's a
guess.
Marvel guy that wrote
A
it.
Marvel guy wrote that.
Gotcha.
Is my guess
for them to do during.
Yeah,
his,
because
okay.
that was actually like kind of amusing. I
Well,
was
that-
like, okay, this isn't awful.
That interaction felt like a Marvel interaction
Right.
between him and the bartender.
Well, and Tom Hardy's
Yeah.
a good actor.
Yeah.
The Venom movies are just terrible.
Right. Yes.
So it's like it's not like we're like, oh, Tom Hardy sucks. No,
No.
Tom Hardy rules. It's the Venom.
the Venom
movies.
movie, but that it is insane that they were just like, yeah, we'll put him in that movie.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great because the worst. I mean, there's a lot of bad things about Venom too, but one of the worst things was, oh my god,
We're
him
bringing him
into
in.
the MCU,
Right.
and then they next movie undo that.
Yeah.
and I think
Immediately,
that's
they
fantastic.
immediately undo it. But that means, right, that Eddie Brock. We know that there is an Eddie Brock in the MCU somewhere.
Sure.
We're gonna get a traditional Venom Spider-Man story. I assume in Spider-Man
Topher
4.
Grace.
Right.
Jesus.
And also the problem with incorporating Venom into the Marvel universe has always been,
how do we do it?
how do you do it? Because in the comic books, it came in through Secret Wars.
And in the animated series, it is attached to like a spaceship flown by
Yeah.
But
Jameson's son.
Probably with this Guardian stuff. I mean, we're into so much cosmic stuff now. It's going to come
And
in
Secret Wars,
through-
But
think there's-
its backstory is so entangled with
Yes.
Secret Wars that
Yeah.
you basically have to create a whole new story
Yeah.
to bring Venom in and still have it be because you, if you want to do the version where Spider-Man gets this black suit and at first he thinks it's great and then and you know, especially because like now they couldn't get away with it, but originally when he got the black suit at first, like it was presented as problematic, right? Like it was originally kind of presented as like, oh, he got this suit and this gives him these extra powers. Oh, this will be fun for, you know, and
then it got worse.
And then there's like the twist of like, oh no, this is not a good thing.
Right.
It's like the monkey's paw or something.
Right,
It's like, oh,
yeah.
you got
Like,
all this great
he's,
stuff.
He's
and then
stronger. He's faster. He doesn't need web fluid anymore.
Right.
It's also taking him crime fighting while he's asleep.
right.
You know, like,
Yeah.
that's bad.
But I guess that's how they're going to get it to us, though. We don't need space or anything. They
No,
literally
totally.
just brought it
No,
in from.
it's brilliant.
It worked out to where you don't have to do a backstory.
Right.
If you want to find out, you can kind of figure out where Venom
You
came
can go
from,
watch that 3-minute
and
clip.
he's in.
Right.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But
This-
let's rewind to the beginning of the movie.
This
and
movie
start
starts off really fun. Like, I love that it just starts off with, I mean, besides from him being like discovered,
messed up,
and people
like,
saying he's a murderer. But then when he grabs MJ and they're swinging through the city and she's screaming, and he puts her down on the top of a bridge. Are you okay? No, and she's balancing. Like it's just fun, and her like the handy cam, like a GoPro shot of her like freaking out while he's like sorry.
Right.
Like the humor is just it's so good. It's so entertaining from the get. And I love that when they set you up with that tone where you're like, oh, this is what we're doing. From jump.
Well, is it safe to say that this is probably Marvel's most ambitious movie? And what I mean by that is like just getting the rights and making everything work. Like bringing the multiverse idea.
Well, they don't have to get the rights because Sony has them all.
Well, like making a deal with Sony like that, I feel like was insanely hard.
I think that their most ambitious movie is still probably Endgame.
Yes.
I would agree with that.
But aside from Endgame, because there was so much to set up and all
it's a different kind of ambition.
I think that I was going to say, I think this is incredible, and I still can't believe this movie happened. Like, the fact that they brought in 2 other series. They got a Spider-Man series, 2 reboots, all the villains and heroes, mixed them all together.
They basically
made
made one movie a sequel to 3 franchises.
You got an ending to 2 franchises, and
so here's the question. Here's the question. Just the business guy in me. When you're selling your box sets or your bundles, this is technically Spider-Man 4 and Amazing Spider-Man 3, as well as Spider-Man
3.
Home Series 3.
Yeah, right.
Like
throw them together.
Now they're all in the same box set because they exist together.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
It literally goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, but 3 is the sequel to the other 2. You're right.
Yeah, it's like if you want to buy the Tobey Maguire complete set, box set, like where does that land?
That's and so
spoilers. He's in it.
Scream Factory has done 2 beautiful box sets of the Halloween franchise and Friday the 13th. If I were Disney, whoever, that's what I'm doing. One giant box set. Spider set that's got everything in it.
Yeah, but I hate to tell you, but Disney is Disney, and they will put out their own beautiful box set.
Yes.
They're not going to Scream Factory.
No,
I know,
that's what I mean. No, I mean Disney. I mean Disney putting out
that
model.
So I'm like, they're not paying anyone
Scream
else
Factory's like, can we have that?
Yeah, they would. Scream Factory would love to get a cut of Marvel stuff. Yeah.
So it picks up right where we left off in Far From Home. He gets home. Spidey gets home, and of course he's pulling down Shutter. This Happy and Aunt May have broken up, which is just like another
really
very funny scene.
I mean,
where they are, he's like, "You want to try?" And she's like, "No, this is a fun little fling." And we flung, and it was fine.
Yeah. Poor Happy.
And then so Peter gets arrested for the feds, the Department of Damage Control, which is
questioned,
new.
right? He's not really arrested. They bring him in.
He's brought him in for questioning. And
he never actually gets convicted of anything
because of his lawyer.
So I guess he got exactly. But like because you'd think at first like, well, they've got Mysterio and he says this on camera, but if you have a good enough lawyer,
and of course the scene in the trailer that everybody kept talking about was his lawyer is the scene in the bullpen where the person slams the paperwork down and they're like, that's Daredevil, that's got to be Daredevil, and of course Kevin Feige's like, nope, that's not Daredevil. And he's not wrong.
Yeah.
It's the next scene when Charlie Cox walks on scene. Netflix's Daredevil as Matt Murdock, as the lawyer. This was my favorite part of the movie because this just means everything's in play.
Well,
right?
What a great moment. And one of my only complaints with the movie is there wasn't more Daredevil.
I agree. I would love more Daredevil.
When he showed up.
I would have loved more Daredevil, but like...
That's too much.
They already made a deal with the devil. That they could put this many characters in a movie and have it work, because what's always our biggest complaint about superheroes?
Too many people.
Too many villains,
well,
too many people.
That's what I mean. Too many villains, but we've never had too many villains from 3
separate
series.
Like on paper, if
this was a Batman movie, we'd have been like,
oh my god,
this.
And if they had if we had seen like a traditional trailer that wasn't hiding things,
right,
and we'd have seen this is what they were doing, we'd have been like, there's no way this is going to be good.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. That Daredevil set photo leaked.
Oh, it did?
And that sucks because I would have liked
no idea.
I was still surprised because I kind of forgot. But when I saw it, I'm like, oh, the leak was right. But I'm like, I wish I never even got an inkling. That's my complaint. It's not really the movie's fault, although the marketing.
The movie business's fault.
The trailers with the villains and stuff that I've tried to avoid, but you can't because everyone posts them and all that. how cool would this movie be if you went in, thought it was just another home series trilogy sequel, and these guys all show up, and you had zero idea. I know it's impossible.
I had pretty close to zero idea because I haven't been paying attention. I knew that they were supposed to be bringing in the other villains, but I was.
Willem Dafoe's doing press tours and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just like
But at the same time, man, they spend so much money on these movies. They got to give you something to let you know that you know what I mean.
And it worked.
Yeah,
it worked because this movie.
This is crazy.
We don't have a full box office, but I'll let you know. Thursday night previews. $50 million.
I saw an article yesterday that they said opening weekend is projected to be in the $240 million.
That's
crazy. $250 million.
So that, I mean, I was thinking about that the other day, and like we talked about Shang-Chi and the Black Widow and how and their openings, and they were they're opening with Disney Plus and all that stuff. This is why Marvel went out of their way to get their characters back, right?
Yeah.
Like if Spider-Man, who is their biggest character, despite that they didn't have his rights, he will always be probably their number one character. $240 million in an opening weekend. Imagine what the X-Men are going to do.
Yeah.
You know, the Fantastic Four are probably going to do around the same that the Black Widow or Shang-Chi did, unless it's something amazing, because it is by the same director as these three movies. John Watts, I think, is directing the Fantastic Four.
Okay.
But the X-Men is going to be stupid.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Wolverine is one of their most well, he was. He's not so much anymore. But
yeah, we'll have to see how they handle recasting and everything.
Yeah.
But I mean, but here's the deal. Yes, Spider-Man's popular. We all know that. It was the biggest, the Raimi trilogy, right? I mean, even though Blade and X-Men, but like Spider-Man made them so much money. But
save the company. Like that's for real.
Right. But also this movie had so much hype around it. And I told Tom a couple of days ago when we were talking, I'm like, this was a magic trick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Whatever they follow this up with, I mean, they can't just recreate this magic trick again. This is
they can, in a way, because they've set this thing back to zero. So the MCU Spider-Man, right? We've seen him, his evolution. They were setting him up, or maybe they weren't. They were leading us to believe that he was going to be the new Tony Stark with the suits and the gadgets.
This movie makes me so happy that he's not Tony Stark Jr. anymore.
But what have they done? They have stripped him down to the bare bones.
Yeah.
And he is back to zero.
Yeah.
No
struggling
MJ.
photographer. He's gonna have to go work for the Daily Bugle.
Right. Now you've got a traditional Spider-Man, no armored suit. I swear this guy had more costume changes than Bette Midler at the Oscars. As many costumes as he went through in this movie.
You got toys to sell, man.
That's true. But like now you can introduce Harry Osborn. Now you can introduce Norman Osborn, Gwen Stacy. Maybe if you can't pay Zendaya enough, you get a traditional.
As long as she's still dating Tom Holland,
that's true.
Yeah,
you get a traditional Mary Jane Watson.
Now, having seen Zendaya in other movies, I have. Not that I ever had a problem with her in these movies, but I like her so much more. Like, I'm just like that. Like, I just kind of assumed that's who she is.
You understood this as a choice.
But now I'm like, oh my god, all those line deliveries are like deliberate choices that she's making. I'm like, she is so damn good.
Great. Do you watch Euphoria?
Yeah.
Oh my god! I mean, seriously, Euphoria, Malcolm and Marie, Dune. She was good. Not that she was in it much.
Yeah, she had 3 lines.
But she's a great actor.
Yeah,
like she is great. But my point is though that they pulled this off. So again, we've spoiled it. We already said Toby's in the movie. Andrew Garfield's in the movie. They brought in all the villains.
What got the biggest pop in your theater?
Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
Toby was pretty big.
Toby was the big
both,
one for mine.
I was at a critic screening, and the only thing that got a big reaction was Daredevil.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so for our age, I mean, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire, that was what we grew up with. So I think in general audiences that are around our age, that's why Toby's going to get the...
He's the worst Spider-Man.
I don't think he's the worst.
I went back and watched 1 and 2.
Andrew Garfield's the best Spider-Man.
Easily.
The way his quips, the way he's...
Yeah.
When he was swinging around in the final scene and his smart aleck, whatever, that is Spider-Man off the page.
I wish
he's the George Lazenby of Spider-Man.
He is. Yeah. He's Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I wished he would have played a 30-year-old Spider-Man.
Yeah, why? That's the problem. The only thing, and he was good as Peter Parker. He's just too old to be high school Peter Parker. But his line delivery is so perfect.
I think of that scene with Flash at in the Amazing Spider-Man, where he's like he's picking the kid up and he's making the kid, and like the way he walks into that scene, where he's like, he's trying to be Peacemaker, but he's not big enough to do anything to Flash Thompson. But yes, I completely agree.
Tom
Andrew
Holland's
Garfield,
the most balanced.
yes.
Andrew Garfield was a great Spider-Man, and I think Tobey Maguire was a really good Peter Parker. I mean, I know he looked older in some of it too, but like he still had that nerdy, like whatever, like you know. What I
just always thought he was very stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked them all anyway, but
He felt more comfortable He felt more relaxed and comfortable to me in this than he did in any of those.
Yeah. I mean,
I guess that's
grown-up
true.
Spider-Man,
And I think he's also walking into it like I'm the first Spider-Man, right? Like I think there's a confidence in that of
that
like
scene
you're here because of me.
Oh, I mean, 100%. Like you got to give them credit. You know, I mean, who is it? Avi Arad,
who was a producer on this movie, which is bonkers.
He's a producer on every Spider-Man thing.
Oh, that's right.
He owns the rights to Spider-Man.
That's right. He's like John Peters.
Yeah, he is. He has to produce everything with Spider-Man. So, but I mean, he saved Marvel. Marvel was going bankrupt, and Avi Arad said, "We're going to sell the rights to movies." And you know, it had a tough start, but they eventually got there. And you know, it was his vision. It was a little weird, the self-congratulatory. He's a producer on this movie, and he said the producers would like to thank the vision of the original true believer Avi Arad. You know
that's where did it say that
in the credits?
Oh,
and he's still alive and like if he was dead,
right?
His son Ari Arad or whatever, like saying that would be amazing, right? That's a very touching thing. And I thought, oh, I guess he died, and I didn't realize it. No, he's alive, and they just wanted to congratulate him and him congratulate.
That's
himself.
hilarious.
Anyway, but he did seriously. I mean, Marvel was going bankrupt. Probably wouldn't have it anymore if it weren't for him.
If it wasn't for Jimmy Palmiotti and Joe Quesada and the movies,
yeah,
Marvel would have been sold to Warner
so,
Brothers.
I mean, you know, he had the vision. He brought the Spider-Man to life with Sam Raimi and all that. So, I mean, those guys are responsible for comic book movies as we know them. And they've evolved, obviously. But those movies, if you remember, back in the early 2000s,
oh, man,
the money they made in those days.
Because I remember that Spider-Man movie made $100 million its opening weekend, which was unheard of.
Right. Yep.
Like, that was crazy.
That's crazy.
That's a disappointment for a superhero movie.
Totally, yeah.
Right.
I think what I really love the most about how they did this is, one, like, I went into this, I knew that there was going to be the multiverse thing, and I was like, I was like, they're definitely, when people were like, well, will Toby show up? I was like, he's going to be in it. Like, I didn't think for a second they weren't, but I thought we were going to get I think we were going to get 5 minutes of Tobey Maguire.
You got a lot of Tobey Maguire.
I didn't expect basically Tobey Maguire to make his first movie in a decade.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's in this movie for well over an hour.
Absolutely.
But same with the villains. You thought the villains were going to be cameos.
Yeah.
Ha, Electra's here. Ha, Green Goblin's here. Like, and they're gone, right? Like, they come in, they fight them, they're gone. These are not cameos.
Nope. No.
Everyone in this movie is
in this movie.
He's fighting. They're fighting the Sinister Six.
They're supporting actors. All the villains are like, but they're not cameos. That's the thing. That I think it's amazing they pulled this off, rights and all that aside, but logistically,
right,
getting all these named actors that have been in this series for 10 to 20 years over different iterations.
The rights part isn't so difficult because Sony has Spider-Man, Marvel has everything else. Like, that's
they
easy
partner
peasy.
Up, they make a deal.
That's easy peasy. But like getting Tobey Maguire back in, getting in,
Andrew Garfield is busy.
Andrew Garfield is busy, and I'm like, Tobey Maguire doesn't need the money,
need it.
but Andrew Garfield, I could also see going back and saying like, look, I don't want to be a punchline in a Spider-Man movie. Like,
and he wasn't.
It was already ripped from me.
Sure.
And so like, I'm not going to go back and be a punching bag, even though there are jokes about it. They're really, the way they're positioned is it makes you like him even more. But
he's so endearing.
But I think the thing I love about how they did this the most is that, for years, it's been like when they did a reboot of anything, right? It's basically like F everything that came before it, and then it just gets thrown on the scrap heap, and it doesn't quote unquote matter anymore. And they've rejuvenated the other Spider-Man movies by doing this, right?
Easily.
Like, now they matter in a way that they didn't matter before.
No one's ever done anything like this, right? When there's been a reboot, they've never retroactively gone back and been like, well, it does exist somehow.
Yeah, you don't get to a mention of Christopher Reeve's adventures as Superman in another Superman.
I mean, this is unbelievable. I mean, we thought with Marvel and Endgame and all that, like, they've done the impossible, and it is incredible. But this is just a whole new trick that they've.
You got to
think also
they
slow walked it, right? Like, it's like you get the introduction of Doctor Strange, and then you get the introduction of the concept of the multiverse. They didn't just in
Loki,
the opening credits
timelines, all this has been
they didn't just in
established.
the opening or the what if, right?
Yeah.
They didn't just in the opening credits go, oh, there's this whole plot device we just came up with and we're building this movie around it. It's like that's also what makes you accept it, is because they didn't just invent it in the first 5 minutes of this film.
Yeah, we laid the tracks a year ago.
So what's going to happen?
Years ago.
What's going to happen with
I mean,
Flashpoint?
That's
Yeah.
my
See?
question, right? You
Because
know
they're
that-
going to have to go in the first 5 minutes.
Right.
Flash is going to have to say, "Oh, there's a Speed Force."
you
thing
know
with different
DC is
timelines.
just like, son of a
so,
bitch.
like,
and the excitement level of seeing that has just been taken down.
It's tough because the excitement level for
I
me is
mean,
like I still want to
Keaton's
see
in it,
Keaton.
like,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like
but
that
it
is
won't
exciting.
feel fresh in the same
it's
way.
going to
That
feel
is
like
true.
Marvel.
It's gonna feel
Marvel did it,
Marvel did it first.
They're not ripping it off, but because both comic book
of course.
companies have done this on the page
Sure.
in one capacity or another. You
A public perception.
You know
you
what?
had
I wonder-
Amalgam, which merged the DC
Yeah.
and Marvel
Yeah.
superheroes, right?
Super Soldier's still one of the best ones.
Yeah, but
a public perception.
But public
is gonna
perception
say,
is
But I
gonna
wonder.
be-
I wonder if it won't though, right? Because this movie is going to be is massively successful, so everybody gets the idea of a multiverse.
well,
So
Spider-Verse
DC
helped it along too. You
Totally,
but
totally.
they're also going to say now Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man No Way Home. Like they're going to be like,
But
Spider-Man does this all the time.
But DC may not need to give a massive explanation
Yeah.
because it's kind of already.
concept
If you're
is
seeing, if the
established.
people that are going to see both those movies,
sure.
you know
but
what I mean?
really, it just underlines the problem DC's always had,
Yep.
which is they've always been playing catch up to the Marvel Cinematic
And they
Universe,
always will.
and
Like that's kind of
and
where
they
we are.
always want to be 5 years ahead of where they deserve to be.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just taking a breath and doing it right, they want to be like, "Oh, we won our big giant Avengers type movie. We won our," and it's just like,
Slow
you-
down.
You haven't earned it yet. Like
Yeah.
Avengers worked because they earned it. Endgame worked because they earned it. And like you can't just jump to that.
Marvel started this while you were still trying to figure out your Batman.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
that's why when they drop all these little breadcrumbs or plant all these little seeds, rather, it's like I understand it. They're signing people to contracts. They're doing all this stuff ahead of time and trying to cast and introduce characters because it feels so organic when they finally show up
Right.
for their actual movie or
Sure.
a team up movie. And yeah, you're right. That's the problem. And I really hope The Flash is good. I like that director. I'm excited. We have so many people involved with it. You know, it's gonna be cool to see Keaton and the Batmobile and whatever his older form is. Like I really hope it's good. But this is how you do it.
This is how you do it.
And hopefully that one will work too. But going back to the beginning, though, you know, there's trouble for
Daredevil bails him out,
Yeah.
and he at this point now Peter Parker is the most famous person in the world, and he kind of says that, and you know they're trying to get into college, and of course Ned and MJ and Pete, they can't get into any colleges because there's too much heat on them,
and they're by association
Yeah.
getting declined because
there's just too much. There's too much
they
heat
want to go
on
to
all three of them.
MIT and they all get
Denied.
denied.
So he's sitting in this diner and he sees this little like witch Halloween decoration, and he goes to Doctor Strange, which I love this version of Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
He's like
Great.
it's so good.
Benedict Cumberbatch is great in this
Yeah.
movie.
But I do like that the scene that you got in the trailer
Mhm.
is Wong telling him, "Don't you dare cast that spell," and he gives him okay, I won't, and he gives him a wink. That's not in the movie at
No.
all.
Yeah.
Like
I
Wong
like
just
that when they
Wong
trick
just
you.
goes, "I'm not going to be here for this," and like leaves.
That's Sorcerer Supreme Wong to you.
That's right.
That's pretty
That's right.
funny that Wong became the Sorcerer Supreme because Strange blipped for 5 years.
Yes.
So he technically has superior.
Which I do also
seniority.
like in Hawkeye that they reference the blip and how
Yeah.
Yelena was gone for 5
Mm-hmm.
years and she comes, also spoilers for Hawkeye if you haven't seen it. The other character from Daredevil's in that show, so like they're basically
I
bringing
haven't
in.
yet, but I just got spoiled on Twitter.
Oh, did
Someone
you?
posted a
Damn,
picture.
you
I'm
should have like
why?
thrown a okay.
Anyway,
yeah.
but one thing that I didn't understand: why is the Sorcerer Supreme pulling fighting grifts with Abomination? Doesn't the Sorcerer Supreme have better things to do?
You would think.
Protecting the universe than
Yeah.
running hustles.
Maybe not.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
It's a hobby.
Yeah, he's making some
but
extra
when you
grip
didn't
on
know
the
he
side.
was a Sorcerer Supreme,
Right.
it was like, okay, he can pull a hustle or whatever. But like, that's weird.
That is kind of
Okay,
weird.
anyway,
Yeah.
just pointing it out.
So Pete kind of says, he's like, you have the time stone. You can let's just go back in time and make sure it never happens. And I do like the Stranger's like, I don't have that stone. What are you talking about? Like that's long gone. He's like, but I can make people forget that. And this is a kind of a storyline from the comics,
Mm-hmm.
where Peter Parker did reveal his identity to the world in Civil War. messes everything up. I think Aunt May gets hurt in the process. Spoilers for this movie. And he makes a deal with Mephisto that says that everybody needs. Oh no, this one is Strange, where everybody will forget that Peter Parker is
People
Spider-Man.
thought Strange was Mephisto, but they
Man,
didn't.
they love doubling down on that Mephisto storyline. Like, pump the brakes. Like, but Strange starts to cast the spell, and Pete realizes, well, that means MJ's gonna forget, and Ned's gonna forget, and Aunt May's gonna forget. So he keeps interrupting him. We see this in the trailer, and in the process, he kind of messes up the spell. I guess he doesn't. We don't know that he messed up the spell. We think that Strange has captured everything. He's shrunk
Peter
the
has
spell
changed the spell as Strange
while
is
he's
casting
casting
it.
While he's casting
So
it.
a couple times is fine, but he changes it
Keeps
something like
messing it
6
up.
times,
Yeah.
and so the spell is out of control because it's getting changed by someone while he's trying to do this. It's a very intense spell. I like how they visualize it too. The way his
I
movements
love
and
the Doctor
visuals.
Strange special effects.
Yeah.
I like the writings and
Yeah.
one of the things that they used to do in the comics that Bendis started doing is when he would cast a spell, the spell would be written in the
waves.
Oh, was a very cool aesthetic. So we think that everything's okay, right? The spell is contained, nothing really happens, and I do like that Strange is like, why don't you did you talk to the admission person? And Peter's like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, are you telling me I almost mind wiped the entire world and you
didn't make a phone call?
Yeah.
I think this is talking about real problems with the movie. I think the only thing I don't like, and this movie's very good, and so that's why we give it a pass, but he's kind of the rock and rampage. Peter Parker causes all this crap.
He absolutely does.
And it's frustrating because I know he's a kid and that's, whatever, but he causes these problems, but he does in the end have to pay for it, which is different than the Rock getting a gold medal after stealing a helicopter, killing people, whatever.
Right.
But the point is,
I thought you said Rockin' Rampage, and I didn't know what you meant. But
too.
you said the Rockin'
Rampage. Sorry,
Rampage.
yeah.
I'm with you.
So, it's just a little frustrating for me that Peter Parker keeps doing this stuff and puts the entire world in danger for selfish reasons. Yes, they're typical teenager reasons, but I mean, he's an Avenger. He should probably know better than to.
Yeah, he's in charge of
put the world in
of
danger.
Stark Industries.
Yeah, that's just, he keeps doing this stuff and it's really screwing things up. And so him keep changing the spell and all that, knowing that this sorcerer is helping him and how big of a deal all this is. I don't know. It just was a little frustrating to me. So that's probably my biggest complaint.
Yeah,
is that he just can't get out of his own way. And then when it comes to villains and them doing stuff, and I know that eventually part of it comes into play with what May says and all that, and I get it. It's a nice message and all that, but it's they're out here killing people, and he could have just done what Strange said. Strange keeps telling him,
right?
And he even says it back when he's in Endgame or whatever. Strange,
this is their fate.
If I have, and if this kid dies to protect the world, I'm sorry, but I have the whole world to look out for.
Right.
And so, it's just hard.
He makes a lot of mistakes.
I part of me likes what he's doing, and it is great because of the responsibility and the May talk and all that. But then part of me is just listen to Doctor Strange. He's telling you
he's Doctor Strange.
So anyway, for what
not
it's
your
worth.
aunt.
Yeah.
So he makes a couple phone calls. Flash. We see this version of Flash Thompson where Peter Parker has to strike a deal with him and say that Flash is Spider-Man's best friend and.
To try to help him because he did get into MIT.
Yeah,
of course, he's rich.
Yeah,
and whatever.
right. So Peter ends up on a bridge and he sees this woman's car, and this is the first introduction. The bridge starts to collapse, and we see Alfred Molina's Doc Ock comes back from Spider-Man 2.
And I didn't realize that they had done de-aging with him and Willem Dafoe, but I thought it looked really good.
I thought Alfred Molina looked a little weird. But Willem Dafoe did not.
Yeah.
Because I think Willem Dafoe has that rubbery face anyway.
Yeah.
I just thought, I thought Alfred
it didn't
Molina
look
was just
bad,
older,
but
so I didn't
But
really...
Willem Dafoe looked better
Great.
than Molina.
God, and can we... I guess we're not there yet, but Willem Dafoe, MVP,
that's the Green Goblin I've been waiting for since 2002.
But his performance is incredible.
Yeah.
He was a great villain then, but he's only gotten better and better as an actor even since then when he was good, and amazing.
So they have this throwdown. Alfred Molina thinks that this is Tobey Maguire, and of course it's not, and he takes the mask kind of comes. I was like, man, you got to keep that mask on your face, bud. Well, I guess you don't at this point.
At that point,
everybody
yeah.
knows who he is, and somebody pointed out that he's wearing the same suit that Tobey Maguire is wearing in Spider-Man 2. Like when
Yeah.
he goes to the theater, like they're wearing the same suit. So Alfred Molina's like, you aren't Spider-Man, and he was like, what do you big? This is the big thing. Like nobody knows who he is, so they end up getting Doc Ock into this cell, and we get to see.
Well, so you skipped over. So he takes the nanobots.
Oh, that's
off
true.
Of
He does.
the
He
suit,
takes it off the suit
in the chest area, and they go onto his arms. But then Peter realizes that he has control over the nanobots on this little wrist thing,
right?
And so he's able to then
override the
pilot
arms.
the arms,
right?
And he wraps him up. He saves the admissions person. The admissions person's like, "You're a hero. I'm going to look into you and your friends." He's like, "No, I don't want it. It's just for my friends." She's like, "I'm going to look into it for you and your friends."
Right. And this. Oh, you're right. This is where we get the bomb. The pumpkin bomb kind of rolls onto the bridge and explodes, and we see this Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1 off in the distance, and he kind of takes off. We are teleported back to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Doc Ock is put into a cage, and this is where Doctor Strange is like, I don't know what we did, but we've broken the multiverse, and people, and now everybody who you wanted to forget Peter Parker is now, everybody who knows who Peter Parker is coming into our universe.
And that whole call me Steven thing, and then call me Doctor Strange, like that's great. See the writing, this is the Marvel writing that you love.
Easily.
But the whole, when he's asking him for the favor, don't call me Steven. He's like, okay, Steven. Yeah, that still feels weird, but okay.
But I'll allow
and
it.
then later when he screws everything up, okay, Steven, whatever, I'm sorry. Call me Doctor Strange.
No,
like,
sir.
Oh, sorry, sir. Yeah. Call me sir.
Right.
That was great. A great callback.
Callback, yeah. So then we flash over to another cell, and there's the lizard from Amazing Spider-Man, the first one. Like it's the
Dr. Connors.
I don't know
right?
how. Yeah, it's Kurt Connors. I don't know how you say that actor's name. It's like
Reese
Reese
Infar or something like
whatever.
Yeah.
Reese Davies.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. Maybe. So now, like, we've got these two villains. Strange says, "Look, you have to go." Like, find. There's all of these other incursions, basically, of different villains, of different people. You got to bring them back here, and then we got to send them back. And I do like how Peter Parker's like, "How am I going to do that?" And this is one of the coolest things in the movie is he takes that little spider gauntlet and infuses it with like magic, and it's got like a spider web, and he just hits them with the web, and they send them back. And I was like, "That's kind of cool."
Yeah, the visual effects are very good in this movie.
Yeah.
It's so much better than Far From Home. Like in Far From Home, I mean, there was some cool stuff, but I thought some stuff got a little wonky, especially in the ending when there was like
The
Mysterio
drones?
doing his stuff and all that. But this movie, throughout the entire thing, I thought the visual effects, like they gave this movie the budget to do whatever they needed to do.
Right.
Because there's a lot of villains, a lot of destruction, magic, all this
All
stuff.
of the above.
It really
It is funny. Initially, I thought we were going to get a black suit until I realized they just turned his suit inside out. And that was the
Is
suit.
that what the black and gold was?
Yeah,
I
because
couldn't
if you
figure
go like a close up, you can see all the wires and stuff on the outside of it.
I just didn't know if that
Because
was
he couldn't get the paint off.
I couldn't figure out what they did. Okay, that makes
He looked at it and just turned his suit inside out, so you kind of got the black suit without it being the black suit.
Okay, and he's not wearing the nano suit but he got
He
it
pulled.
back.
He gets it because Otto puts it back on his chest. He gives him back like when he fixes the thing on the back of
later
Otto's
on.
head.
Okay, so he's missing.
Yes,
so he's still
he's
missing.
He's wearing the black and red, and then when he's wearing the Miles suit basically, which is what that one is. And then when Otto gives him the back, it's the black and red suit with the gold spider on it. So then now we're introduced to Electro. We see Electro and Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2 and
it's
Sandman.
not, though. That's the interesting thing. So it's a different Electro because that
because he recognized
that Electro didn't know Peter Parker was Spider-Man. He never knew that, and he looks different. He's not all nerdy and stuff. He looks so different. It's an Electro, but it's a different Electro.
Oh, is that right?
That's why it's Jamie Foxx, still, but it's a different version of Electro.
But even Andrew Garfield knew who he was.
That Andrew Garfield knows Electro. I don't think I can't be. The reason they all get drawn
But
in,
he says that he fell into a vat of electric eels. That's how.
But he knew that. But these people know Peter Parker's Spider-Man. That's how they get drawn in. And that Electro never knew.
Oh,
that.
you're saying the Electro from the original Amazing Spider-Man 2 did not know.
Yeah, so
but there could be an alternate universe one where he has the same origin story. It's the same guy. Andrew Garfield knew who Electro was, but Electro didn't know who Andrew Garfield.
I'm with you. I'm with
that version of.
That's how I took it, though, is that it had to because he looks and acts so different too. He's a lot cooler and whatever. This is the this is the Electro that you hope that you would have
Kinda,
gotten.
yeah,
in,
right,
You know,
right.
Like they fixed the problems that people had with Electro in that movie here, but I don't think it would make sense for him to still be the same exact one.
Did Flint Marko know that Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man?
God, it's been so long. I don't know. I was just
nobody-
taking them at their
Nobody
word.
pays attention to that one anyway.
Yeah.
But either so we get the Sandman and we get Sandman from Spider-Man 3 and Electro from the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Tobey Maguire. Tom Holland gets both of them into the thing, and then he gets a phone call and just kind of says there's one at the Feast Center, and of course Spider-Man takes off and he runs through the thing. I do like that he doesn't have to, Tom Holland has become a pretty big actor. He's like, I'm not wearing that mask anymore. They're like, fine, everybody knows who you are, so you can just run through wherever without the
I think
mask
also
on.
like they don't. He's a big enough star where you don't want to cover his face.
That's what
the
I'm
whole
saying,
time.
yeah.
Like I think that it's not just he doesn't want to; they don't want to spend that kind of money on Tom Holland and then hide his face. I think they also did the same thing with Willem Dafoe. Like that was one of the big mistakes of the Spider-Man movie was they hid Willem Dafoe's face.
Did you ever see that mask, the original mask? Rick Baker, I think Rick Baker or Stan Winston did an animatronic mask that was like the Goblin. And they said no.
Yeah.
Like if you can find the test footage of it, and it looks bonkers in the best possible way. And they gave him that stupid Power Ranger mask.
This was really cool that they gave him the comic book suit. Like
it's
ripped
pretty
the
close.
hoodie with the purple. I mean, it's a mashup.
With the exception of the mask, it's almost
an
spot on.
homage to the comic book with the colors and everything. I thought
purple
that was
and green.
great.
Yeah, it was great.
But he's running through. Where's May? Where's May? Because and then she's just sitting there with
Norman Osborn.
Yeah.
And this is the Norman Osborn in the beginning of Amazing Spider, or in the beginning of Spider-Man, where he's not the Goblin. Like he's kind of got like
he's a tragic character.
He very much is, yeah. And he says, "I'll do whatever I can." Like my company isn't here, which I think it is going to be. I'm pretty sure that Oscorp is going to be in Morbius. I'm just guessing that like the Donald Gleason.
Donald Gleason?
No, who's the old guy?
Oh, Brendan
Gleason might be
okay.
Norman Osborn. I'm guessing.
It is really tragic though, because he's like, there's
My
someone else
son's
living in
not
my
here.
house. Like this, he's pulled out and doesn't know anything, and he's also at this point realized that the Goblin's bad news. He's crashed the helmet in the alley when he lands. He's covered up the glider. He's trying to get help, and May realizes this, and she runs this homeless shelter, and so she's like, "That's what we do. We help people. You need to help this man."
Right. And Strange is like, "Get him back here," because we find out that they have been these characters have been plucked seconds before they die.
Yeah.
So the Alfred Molina character was about to die in Spider-Man 2, and all of these characters were about to die. So when they send them back to their actual universes, they're going to die.
Yeah.
And Peter doesn't want that to happen.
Yeah. And it's
well,
from his
Peter doesn't
discussion
care,
with
but
May.
like, yeah.
May says he's like these aren't our problems. He's talked to Doctor Strange. He's like, yeah, they need to go back. They're dangerous. All this, but she's like, but maybe they don't have to. Maybe we can help them.
It is interesting that we've had very few mentions of Ben in the MCU movies.
If any.
I think that
I don't think he's ever said my
he
Uncle
says
Ben.
something that like May has been having a hard time recently in the first movie, and kind of as a reference to the death of Ben.
But I don't think they ever say
they
Uncle
never
Ben.
do, which doesn't make a lot of sense because how did he become like what set him on the path to be Spider-Man? I guess Tony Stark. I don't know. They don't really say why he became right because the catalyst is Ben getting shot by the robber that makes him become Spider-Man. And we'll just, we're running a little short on time, but they flipped that here where May is the Uncle Ben.
Right.
May is your Uncle Ben allegory.
And Ben doesn't make him become Spider-Man. Ben makes him become a better Spider-Man.
Yes, that's true. The hero.
Which is what happens here. Like, not that he was ever a bad Spider-Man, but I think...
Well, he was about to give up.
And this is going to make him take it a little bit more serious.
Yes. Yeah, that's totally right. The powers weren't going to be used to fight wrestlers.
Right.
So basically, he starts trying to help all these villains.
Yeah,
he says,
he kicks Doctor Strange into the Mirrorverse.
Oh man, this is maybe my favorite scene visually.
That's
this
the Doctor
whole
Strange stuff, man.
The train, that was one of the coolest things. Like, this is what they were trying to do with the Mysterio visuals and all that. Like, I didn't really care for how CG it was with multiple Spider-Men and trying to trick him and all that. this was like the perfect.
This is Inception
execution of that.
Inception style, like
Amazing.
buildings collapsing
so fun,
on itself.
So fun, amazing visual effects, just a blast to watch on the big screen.
So Spidey brings all of the villains back to Happy's place because that's where they're staying.
Yeah.
And they use, Happy is about to be charged for stealing Stark tech, and the MacGuffin is this box in the back of Happy's place, and Spidey opens it up, and it's like a 3D printer basically.
Yeah.
And he fixes the thing.
Basically, they don't have a lab, but they have a thing that can generate anything that they want.
Correct.
So,
which is how he made his suit, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how he made his suit in Far From Home. So he fixes the device on the back of Ock's neck that like kept the arms in check.
And this is a great scene, and especially with Octavius being so against everything and let me out of here, I'm gonna blah blah blah, and then he gets redone.
But
and
it's
he's like,
I forgot how lovable he is because he is that way in the first half of 2, where he's like
when he's helping Peter and they're at the cafe and he's talking with his wife and all that.
It's this is that character again.
It's great to see him, and he's like Norman,
right.
Yeah, they have a nice moment.
And unfortunately, the Peter tingle kicks in, and I do like the way they film
he's
this.
Dampening Electro's power with a thing on his chest, and that's almost done. I can't remember what Marco's going to have.
He hadn't done anything
to
yet.
him, but he's like they've found fixes. Goblin has a serum
to get rid of the Goblin.
Yeah, so they've got fixes for everyone. But yeah, the spider sense going off, and again another great shot.
That's what I think.
It's a GoPro shot that like is attached.
They've
to
never
him.
done it like this, where he's looking around the room, and like you can feel it, like when he's looking at Doc Ock, like it goes down, and as he's turning,
everyone else is blurred around him, and it's this great tracking shot, and then all of a sudden he senses
he hits the web, and of course it's not Norman Osborn, it's the Goblin.
Yeah,
and this is all hell breaks loose, and
Jamie Foxx rips off the dampener. He realizes I don't want my powers taken away.
Right, and then the Goblin attacks Peter. And there's a really good fight with some wrestling moves are in there. There's a couple spine busters and a power bomb. And they go through this is a massive fight scene. The Lizard's like, F this, I'm out of here. J. Jonah Jameson is on the scene at this point, and he's videotaping, of course. Spider-Man is causing all of this destruction, so he can't wait to film it. And unfortunately, in this process, we lose May.
This is a dark movie.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire...
It definitely takes a turn, which I think is interesting given the post-credit sequence. You know what I mean?
But really watching this moment, but I mean from Spider-Man being discovered and people being hard on him, and to this scene especially,
I think
the end,
this scene is played so perfectly because Aunt May is kind of always untouchable, right? Like she's old and frail, right? She's in the hospital in one of the Amazing in Spider-Man, and in the comics, she's always sick for some reason because she's old as dirt.
Oh, but this is a different Aunt May.
This is a different Aunt May.
Yeah.
And when she's talking to Peter and she hits him with the great power comes great responsibility, and I was like, I'll allow it. You get one.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to hear it all the time. And then when
we haven't heard it yet.
That's what I'm saying. You get it
different.
once.
They didn't just give us the same thing that we're like, well, we know the origin, whatever. Like, well, this is different.
This is different.
But it's so close that I don't think the nerds can be mad. I mean, obviously they can. But
and the whole point of this movie is that all these Spider-Men come from
different.
The pieces are all there, but they're in different orders.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And they're coming from different places sometimes.
Right.
So,
but it's heartbreaking. I mean, would it have been better without the crying baby during the whole scene? Probably.
Did you have a crying baby?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's great during the most dramatic.
I had
whole time.
The gal next to me doing her own MST3K. I was like, you can shut the fuck up anytime you want. That'd be great.
During the third act, the two kids yelling at each other and running around the theater fighting.
Hey, aren't we glad to be back in the theater?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, no, you don't understand. We all love theaters. We love them. It's the people.
Yeah.
Be respectful.
If I could have my own theater just to myself or my friends, sign me up.
I'm glad they took her out. Given the hit that she took, like when she took that hit, I was just like, "Come on, she's not a superhero. She's a 52-year-old woman.
Right.
She's like, and she's about 4'11". Like I'm just like that would kill her." And so I was just like,
when she popped right up, I was like, damn it,
yeah,
But it is heartbreaking, and you think that she's just injured
hurt
a bit, and Peter's holding her, and then he looks at his hand.
And no, she says, I just need to catch my breath, and like she kind of sits down and lays down, and they're having that talk, and then yes, exactly, he pulls his hand out from under her back, and he's just covered in blood, and I think this is like Tom Holland is one hell of an actor.
But he's now caused the death of May, just like the other ones caused the death of Ben. So
Right.
we've got that same kind of
dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Peter Parker disappears.
Yeah.
So now MJ and Ned, who I do like that Ned's like, is there any, I'm your best friend, but I promise I'm not going to go crazy and murder you. Ned Leeds is the Hobgoblin in the comic books. So like that's going, maybe not this Ned, but Ned Leeds becomes a bad guy at some point. This point, like Ned has a sling ring. So he says, show me Peter Parker. This was one of the biggest pops of the movie.
Sure.
You see a Spider-Man out in the background. As soon as I saw him wave, and I was like, oh, I know which one that is.
I didn't expect it at this point, and like I don't know, like I just thought. I mean, they did it well. It's dark. He's in an alley. I'm like, oh, I thought they found mopey Peter Parker, like sad about what happened with May and everything.
But as soon as he waves,
and then he jumps through, and you see the suit.
That cool suit. That's a good looking suit.
And it's like,
and of course he takes the mask off, and it's Andrew Garfield. And I do like that they're like, prove that you're Spider-Man, and he was like,
okay,
what?
But he hops up on the ceiling, and they're
like just holding it with one hand.
And Zendaya, wait, crawl around on the ceiling.
I'm not crawling around.
And the mom or the grandma or whatever, she's speaking a different language the whole time. And Ned's like, she's asking, can you go get the cobweb that's in that corner while you're up there? And he shuffles over to it and wipes. I mean, it's so funny.
It is very good,
so
and
funny.
he's so good. And then they try it again, and of course, out walks Tobey Maguire, and that got the pop. Like that was the one.
Yeah.
And I do like that immediately both of their spider senses go off, and they mirror each other's moves almost to a T, and then just like, and they give each other like the thumbs up. They're like, okay, we know what's going on. I gotta tell you, like this,
you gotta go out dressed like a cool youth pastor.
That's great. And he just kind of pulls his shirt down.
Because I was
got
looking
the
the whole
suit
time,
under
like,
it.
why is Toby not in the suit? I'm like,
well, and I'm thinking at this point, like, well, maybe he's not in shape. Maybe that was one of the deal points to get him back. Like he'll be Peter Parker, but he won't be Spider-Man.
I wonder if the suit wasn't ready or something, or he wasn't ready at that point in filming. And
I think all that was hammered out before.
Yeah, he
set
looked
foot.
in pretty good shape. Like,
no, he didn't. When you could tell, what I'm saying is, I wonder if at that point there was a reason they kept him.
I just realized the back joke.
Yeah,
do you get that?
Is real.
Yeah, he hurt his back. So
Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be recast.
It just clicked that he messed his back up doing Seabiscuit, and they referenced that here where he's trying to the old man trying to lean over the railing trying to crack his back,
because that's why
hilarious.
I always thought for 20 years ago, I'm like, man, him and Jake Gyllenhaal looks the same. And then they did that Brothers movie, and I'm like, see, I knew they looked the same. And then they were talking about him almost replacing him.
He was Spider-Man, and then Tobey Maguire's like, I'm okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay.
He'll make
I
it
can
work.
do this. I'll make it. I'll make
Yeah.
it work. Right. So this is another great scene where they know where Peter Parker goes, the MCU Peter Parker, and you've got both of them kind of perched on either side, and Peter.
This is great. The emotional
I think
beats
this
of
scene is fantastic.
them all talking about the stuff that's happened in there.
Yeah, where
They've lost people.
Peter references Gwen.
Our Peter says like, I'm sorry, you guys, but you can't understand.
You don't
and you're
get
like,
it.
God, they all understand.
They all get it, right?
And they do such a good dramatic delivery of their parts.
Andrew Garfield mentions Emma Stone, who I got to tell you, that is the couple that I think is the best couple.
Yeah.
I think Zendaya and Tom Holland are really good, but there was just something off about Kirsten Dunst, and they were together, right? They were a couple while they were filming.
I think so,
but not.
I
for
like
3.
them all, but I think that Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are just such likable, charismatic people that those two together is just like.
Well, and they were also dating,
right?
But
there
is that.
But on screen though, it's just an explosion of chemistry and charisma.
Right.
They were really likable.
No Spider-Gwen in this movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But then Tobey Maguire references Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
And they all kind of realize if we work together, we can make this happen. So they go back to the high school laboratory, and this is another really good interaction between the three of them, where Ned says Peter, and they all say what, and they're like, no, that Peter, can't figure out Peter Parker. He's like, we're all Peter Parker.
So they assign them numbers.
Yeah.
But Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3.
But the numbers don't correspond to the movies.
No.
Which I thought was, because I would have thought the easiest way around that to still have them correspond in the movies is by age.
Oh,
they
sure.
can't because okay. I was gonna say because our Peter has to be Peter 1,
right? Because it's his world, and that's what they did. Is he's Peter 1, and then
Toby's 2,
and Garfield's 3.
I like how he goes, yes, Peter 3.
Yeah, like
because it is kind of like I feel like because people like Amazing Spider-Man the least, and
right?
So it's kind of a joke about like, Peter
totally,
3,
yeah.
I'm Peter 3.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a good self-referential way to kind of
There's even they do that again when they're all on the scaffold, which I do think is
that's
also
when they do that part is when he goes, yes, I get it, because they're like, you're not coming, like we have to talk and whatever, so they say I'm Peter 1, you're Peter 2, and then he's like, yeah, Peter 3.
I do enjoy that the Statue of Liberty now has Captain America's shield instead of the.
I know when I saw the scaffold. Well, and there's a reference to that on the radio.
Oh, is there?
I didn't get it. Like one of the talk radio shows, someone's complaining about it, and I didn't click for me what they were saying until we see the scaffolding. I was like, wait, does this take place in this? Did Remo Williams know that Peter Parker was Spider-Man? And then you see the shield, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
that's what they were
replacing the torch with the shield.
Yeah.
So Peter Parker, they've got this box, and once this button is pushed on this box, everybody goes back to
That's the thing that's strange from the beginning was like, I've got this spell trapped, and if you press this button, we're going to just send them all back home. And that's how it's going to be.
Done.
And Peter gets that box away from him. There's a really cool scene where he leaves his body, but his spider sense is able to
that what it
maneuver.
is?
Yeah, because the spider sense is not physically connect. It's like he's tapped into whatever all the Spider-Men are tapped the web.
That's
like,
why he can't grab the. Oh God, please don't.
Whatever.
If they bring in Madam Web, I'm out.
Yeah. Played by Stan Lee's wife in the cartoon.
That's right.
But so anyway, it's just cool that like the spider sense, because Strange is like, this shouldn't be possible. He's outside his body, but yet the spider sense is moving.
Okay, that makes total sense. Is that why he can't grab the box?
So they've been hiding this box the whole time, and so now they're going to use it to lure in the villains because they know they have to get that box away, or else
he hops on not InfoWars. And does tricks them into coming to the Statue of Liberty, and it's not going well. Right, but before we do that,
all the whole chemistry experiment thing was that all the cures were broken when the villains escaped. So all the Peter Parkers worked together using their science knowledge, using whatever tools they have, and they are able to create solutions. So like if we work together, we can find cures for all of them.
A gas for the lizard and the serum, and then the fixing the thing on the back of the neck.
This is what I like about this movie is it's like, this is Peter Parker. He doesn't want to kill these people, right?
No.
He wants to save them, and that's what the May thing encourages.
Right. Man.
And turns him into that Peter Parker, much like Batman, where it's like, you don't want a Batman that just kills. You want the Batman that finds a solution.
Put him in handcuffs and send him off.
Plus, it would be a boring story because it would be Batman so badass,
right?
Badass, that it would be easy for him to just go around and kill all the bad guys.
Superman's the same way.
It's not a fun story to watch.
No.
So I like the idea that all these Spider-Men, even though these villains have done terrible things, they all are like, we're going to save them.
So I do like the first time we get a little bit of humor between the three Spider-Men is when Tobey Maguire uses his organic webbing. Yeah. And both the Spider-Men's are like, whoa!
And they're so grossed out by it. That's what I love. Andrew Garfield's face, he's just like where
did they walk it back and like, no, we're just, we can't do that. And Andrew Garfield is so good at that.
Where did that, you just create it inside of you? And he's like, I don't know.
I don't have to think about it. I don't think about
it's
breathing.
Does it come out of anywhere else? Yeah. Which is always kind of the joke because webs come out of a spider's butt.
Which they do that with another character, don't they? Another brown.
Oh, I don't know.
Brown recluse.
In the comics?
Yeah, there's a character.
There's a tarantula.
Yeah, I think it's brown recluse that can shoot gross somewhere else.
Yeah. But now we've got all three Spider-Men in the suits on this scaffold, and this is where Andrew Garfield, they're talking about their villains, and like, what's the craziest one you've faced? He's like, well, I fought this alien full of goop and black goo, and Tom Holland says something. He's like, oh, God.
Yeah, I've been to space. I fought this
purple. This purple space
and
alien.
Andrew Garfield's like,
I fought a guy in a rhino suit.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the lame one. You're not lame. The interaction.
You're amazing. You're spectacular.
Right.
You are.
He's like, he says you're amazing, which was another great.
Yeah.
And the villains attack, and our heroes actually just can't get it together because none of them, with the exception of, this is an interesting point, where Tom Holland's like, I'm an Avenger. Like, I fought with the Avengers. They're like,
cool.
Oh, cool.
What is that?
Is that like a rock band? Are you in a rock band?
You're in a band?
What?
I love the fact that they pull these three guys from all their separate
things. And they
things.
all check their egos, especially Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. big time.
I know that was the most surprising because I'm like, oh, we've heard a lot of bad things about Toby.
Yeah,
I loved those movies and all, but I'm like, we've seen Molly's.
He's a little bit of a
but
problem.
Man, he comes,
not problematic, but he's kind of a dick.
But he comes to play in this.
he does.
He is very
and
much.
he delivers most of the dramatic.
I think he's savvy enough to know that Spider-Man is his legacy, and if he comes in and screws it screws up what his legacy is.
And Tom Holland's like, I'll just take it for
and
you.
he also is probably the biggest draw in this movie to the diehard. Like, again, people our age, to see Toby.
This is the movie Ghostbusters wanted to be.
That is hard to dispute. You are not wrong.
It worked for me, so I think it kind of was, but this one definitely takes that to the next level.
But
sure.
The biggest problem with Ghostbusters isn't the last scene; it's that the stuff leading up to the last scene.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great Spider-Man movie, and you get all this.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Without this, it's still a great Spider-Man movie.
If this was just Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six, it's still a great Spider-Man movie. But now you're throwing in...
Yeah. So this is what Ghostbusters was trying to do, and I won't say that they failed, but they did not succeed at the level that I think that they had hoped for.
Where this one hits a grand slam, they hit a ground rule double.
Yeah.
I really like throughout the whole thing, though, the dynamic with you focus a lot on the three friends, and I like them as these high school friends and their relationships together, their friendship, their romance with Tom Holland. And
I do
Zendaya.
appreciate that they give us a time where they are at age wise,
right?
Because they never have. They're just in high school in those first two movies, and then this one they're like senior year. I'm like, okay, so we're 17, 18. Got it. This is where we are.
I like it, though. It's a good dynamic, and you get to spend time with them, and they're very fun. They're probably all friends in real life. Obviously, we know the relationship of the two. But
two of them are
But,
close friends.
you feel that, and throughout the whole movie, they do a good job.
Yeah, I agree. There is,
It feels fun.
It is where I think the other two movies struggled is we kind of knew where Harry Osborn was going to go at some point, where this one, there's no question that Ned and MJ and Peter are not going to become enemies.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they're going to be friends. Like, we know Harry Osborn's going to turn on Pete at some point. We know, that's just kind of what happens.
It'll be interesting to see what happens because I don't know where this is going.
I think we do know, and we'll get there. So
they start working together. They have a pep talk.
And they win. They take out one by one. They're taking out the villains.
They're curing them.
Not taking them out. They're curing them.
You get to see. Don't you see Thomas Hayden Church? You see them start to become human again.
Yeah, which I mean, I gotta wonder how much he got paid for this movie because he's not in it except for a voice, except for the very end.
Yeah,
when the sand kind of breaks away.
I think you kind of set your price though within a certain degree because they
need you.
They need you. I mean, they could go try and find a different Spider-Man villain, but there's a finite number of them.
It's great that they got the characters and the actors back. That's
what makes it,
trick.
If they didn't, then it doesn't work.
You literally are bringing in the villains from the other movies and the actors that played them. No recasting. Right. It's really special, and that's why I say it's a magic trick. There was so much hype, so much sleight of hand.
Yeah,
and they pulled it off.
It's Daffy Duck drinking the gas and eating a match. It's a
great
trick.
You get one shot.
You only do it once.
But the next one's going to have to be really damn good, and you can't just be like, oh, here's the guys from some other movie. You've done it.
You can't keep doing that.
I think I know what the next one's going to be.
Okay.
I think
we'll get there. But I just mean that this was so good, but man, do they have some high expectations to live up to for whatever comes next.
Yeah. So they take out, and the last one is the Goblin. The Goblin's the only one left. And Peter turns. I'm not going to say he goes full heel, but he is not happy.
He's about to beat him to death.
Yes, and he picks up. He has him dead to rights. He picks up the glider, and this is a kick in the teeth where I thought something was going to happen.
Toby comes in and
stops him because
this was an emotional punch even before what happens because you're just like, God, that's so good because he's like, I don't become this. Don't become.
Well, it helps because we know that Toby lets him die in Spider-Man 1.
Right.
He flips over the glider. And
dies
then
by the glider.
He dies by the glider.
I know. So it's really emotional, and you see him look there, and he's like, "I'm not going to let you do this to yourself."
And Tom Holland agrees with him and puts it down.
But Willem Goblin stabs him with a knife. Now I don't understand. Spidey sense? How did he let that happen?
I mean,
he should have been able to sense a knife coming at his back, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's a little. I think
unless he was. The theory is that he could, his senses could have been clouded given.
Okay, I think that's a little questionable.
It is
for
a little
Spider-Man.
bit,
Yeah,
He also
especially
did have
the,
his hands-
the oldest Spider-Man who has the most experience.
Right.
I mean, the Spidey sense is pretty established as being
Yeah.
able to detect.
The only thing
I
I can think is it was a crime of opportunity, and he struck quickly.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't thinking to do it. He saw the
Yeah.
moment and he seized it, and it just
Happened.
It didn't set off the spider sense because it was like he wasn't thinking about doing it, and then he was, and he did it.
Okay.
And there just
And we
wasn't
do know the
window,
Goblin
but-
is fast.
Yeah.
superhuman
He's got the
fast.
I mean, the Goblin Serum makes him, be able to go toe to toe with Spider-Man,
Right.
Who is super strength. So yeah, and we get good fight scenes.
I gotta
throughout.
tell you, in this scene, I was like, "Oh, these bastards! They've just killed." I mean, if any of them is gonna die, right? That one makes sense.
Kill the one that you're least likely to get back again.
Correct.
But
Yeah,
don't,
right.
But don't kill our heroes. Like we've talked about this before. Like I mean, even
But there
villains.
needs to be stakes.
There do need to be
Yeah,
stakes,
and-
but don't bring them back and do all this and then kill them off. Like they didn't need to, and it worked.
I don't know. I
But-
think it's
But ultimately, if they want him back, they can bring him back. They can just pull him in from a different alternate
a
universe.
different
You know what I mean?
Spider-Man
Like,
comes shows
They
up.
like-
can, but I'm just saying we didn't need him to die. Like you brought him back. Come
Yeah.
on, these are our heroes. We love
No,
them. We read comics not for them to die. Like come on.
Yeah, no. I mean, when they killed May,
Yeah, those are stakes.
Well,
We're
but
getting people dying, but like.
the cards are off the table, right?
Yeah.
So you could kill Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Spoilers, they don't.
But anyway, the point is the head fake works because we
Yes.
know there are stakes. But I'm glad they didn't.
And rather than
He's like, "Are you okay? Yeah, I've been stabbed before.
I've been stabbed
Okay.
before by this character.
Oh, but the point is that you do this
He
cool
cures
thing
him.
where it almost looks like he's going to stab him in the neck with a knife or something. Like you
Yeah.
don't know what's happening, but Andrew Garfield swings by, throws something at him, and Tom Holland grabs it in one swipe and gets him in the neck.
right.
But then
And
you
hits him with
realize,
the
like,
goblin juice.
Oh, they've got the serum.
Yeah,
and he's
right.
cured. And he, of course, Goblin's like, what or Norman. What have I done?
What have I done? So now that the villains are taken care of, the multiverse has started to crack open.
And Strange comes back and he's like, "You just love me hanging above the Grand Canyon for 4 days or something."
I do like the Tobey Maguire's like, you saw the Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh no, I like it that they don't know what's going on. I was like, shouldn't you have been helping them? You're just hanging out at the Grand Canyon, and he's so mad.
Yeah, right,
He's
right,
so
right.
freaking upset. But I like that Zendaya, or we should say MJ and Ned are like, no, he's almost done. Like, look what he's done. And
Strange is like, oh, dang.
wow,
Okay.
he has.
So one of these, which if you look into the clouds, you can see the Scorpion and you can see the Rhino.
Oh,
you can see
yeah.
these characters are starting to come from the
More
other.
coming in to get him than no, just like our villains we see here have. And so Strange is like, we're screwed. Like,
That's it. So
we're done for.
so Peter Parker decides, he's like, but what if everybody forgets me? And Strange is like, what? He's like, everybody I've ever interacted with, what if everybody forgets who Peter Parker is? And he was like, you realize what you're giving up, right? And he was like, I know, but it's the only way to save this, to save them.
Yeah.
And that's the spell
This
that
is the Peter that, like, he's been through some stuff, so this was his arc. But, like, this is the one that he should have, in the beginning, he should have been responsible enough to be like, hey, this is what I have to sacrifice for my friends and everybody.
Right.
So, like, he finally has learned, like, look, I've screwed things up enough. I need to save my friends. I need to set things right. And
that's what happens. And everybody forgets who, all of our heroes go back. Like,
But he has a nice talk with the Spider-Man. Thank you so much for helping me. They, have their hug
I
and
wouldn't be
everything.
here without you.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of
That's cool.
spot on.
And then he goes and talks to Ned and MJ, has a nice talk, does his handshake with Ned, and he tells MJ, he's like, you're going to forget me, but I'm going to find you.
I'm going to find
Nice
you.
moment.
I'm going to fix this.
What if, what if you don't? Whatever. It's a really good interaction.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll find you.
I'll find you. So Strange cast the spell.
Nice knowing you, kid.
Yep, which is good, and
Yeah.
so that means that all of the Avengers don't know who he is.
So
Like, he's
Spider-Man exists. People just don't know who Peter Parker is.
Correct.
So it doesn't change like the whole history of Spider-Man existing. And
He
stuff
was
that's
part of the
happened.
Avengers.
It's just
Yeah,
which
Spider-Man
is cool,
was part of the Avengers.
which is great. No one knows who Peter Parker is again.
Right.
It opens up endless possibilities.
It puts
and
you back. It
interactions.
puts Peter Parker back at square
Yeah.
one, which is what I think is going.
We're gonna get a struggling photographer. He's gonna go work for.
He's gonna
the
He's gonna go
Bugle.
to Empire State University.
Yeah,
Like
gonna be cool.
that's the thing. So everything goes back to normal. We see that Peter walks in. He's rehearsing a speech. He walks into the call. He goes to Gwen's grave. Not yet.
Oh God, can we just mention real quick though? I think maybe my favorite and most heartbreaking, or like emotional moments is when Andrew saves Zendaya. MJ.
Oh, the way that he didn't save her. Yeah, right.
That was a nice redemption moment.
Yeah, especially like for the fans.
Where and even she's like, "Are you okay?" And he was like,
"Yeah, because he's crying."
Okay.
Like, I think that was a beautiful moment to call that back and give him the opportunity to fix what he's been struggling with his entire time. Like that is.
I'm just glad they didn't turn his web into a hand. Man, I hate that part of that movie. It's so annoying.
I loved it. I think that was amazing.
I agree.
How they did that though. That he got to save.
I saw
her.
a theory that like maybe his turn, like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, goes dark after Spider-Man 2 because he says he's like I wasn't.
Well, he said that.
I wasn't in a good place.
No, yeah,
he says I stopped pulling my punches.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes to
MJ.
May's. No, he goes to May's grave, and we see the interaction with him and Happy, where you think like does Happy know? And then of course he doesn't.
I lost a friend. How'd you know her from shelter?
Through Spider-Man?
Through Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It was just heartbreaking because they both lost Iron Man and they can't talk. Like besides from May, like he's like I lost another friend.
Yeah, this poor guy, Peter Parker, can't catch a break.
He can't.
His mom is gone.
Yeah.
Well, that's always Peter Parker, though, right?
Exactly
he can't
right.
Catch a break.
That's what's so frustrating about him being Iron Man Jr. Is like, no, I want to see Peter Parker struggling, but he's
guess
smart
what?
And
you're gonna get it
right.
Yeah.
That's what's perfect. It's gonna look like he's gonna.
Well, that's the other thing. Well, and I'll get there. But yeah, he goes to the coffee shop where MJ worked, has that interaction with her, and she has a moment where you think maybe she might recognize him, and then she doesn't. No. I thought her and Ned were going to be together.
I thought too. And
that's where I thought we were going, and I was like, "Oh, talk about a kick in the."
They both got an MIT now, so that worked out, and they're friends. She's getting Ned his donut and all that and stuff, and they just have this really nice moment where she's just kind of like she's shy, like the MJ we saw in the first movie. Like she's doing her thing where she's friendly, but she's also like kind of looking down. She's shy, and they're having a nice interaction, and she's just kind of like, okay, well,
all right.
thanks.
He's like, okay, see ya. I'll see you around.
I'm Peter Parker. Okay.
Okay,
I have
Peter
a coffee
Parker.
for Peter Parker. It's a really cute interaction without being like a romantic meet cute.
And it also shows you the difficulty, like, because you're thinking, well, just go back and say I'm Peter Parker. But like, it's not that simple.
No.
There's a whole history that doesn't exist for her anymore.
And he puts his card away with his notes, and he's like, I'm going to do this
because they both have these good lives. Well, they also have these good lives.
Yeah.
And he knows he'll screw it up.
Well, I like where she kind of pushes her hair back and she can see the bandage on her head and realizes that like I caused that. Like,
but that's the lesson, right?
That's the lesson.
Just like he set the spell to forget him, he sees that and he goes, "I'm going to do the responsible thing now,"
and walk away. Yeah,
he learns a lot in this movie. To their credit, like he makes some questionable decisions that are frustrating because it sets the stuff into motion, but by the end, he learns his lesson.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like
journey.
A hero's journey,
exactly. Like Star-Lord. Remember how irritating it was that Star-Lord caused all that crap?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, and Infinity War?
Yeah. But so they kind of do the same thing, which I think is why it's frustrating. He's like, oh, we've seen this. Like, stop messing stuff up. But
no, he doesn't.
But that's what people do.
I know.
Especially an 18-year-old.
It is human. That's what I mean. He's a kid, so I get it. But
yeah, so he goes into what looks like the apartment from Spider-Man 2.
I thought it was going to be the
I did
the
as
Russian
well.
guy.
Yep.
Was that 2 or 3?
That was 2.
Was it 2?
Yeah.
The Russian guy and the daughter and everything?
Yeah, that's 2. Because remember MJ comes running in her wedding gown.
But
to the
I wish
apartment.
they had that guy be the landlord.
Rent, and he opens the door, and we see this tiny little apartment, very Spider-Man, very and he's making a new suit, and we get to see it's. I didn't realize this. Listening to Binge Movies pointed this out that it's May's dress. The blue in the costume
nice.
is one of May's dresses.
It was very shiny to where I was like, that's interesting. Like the colors were classic, but I'm like, that's interesting, the material.
But it's part of May. It's May's outfit.
But we get like comic book
accurate, bright, which I think in the pantheon of superhero costumes, there are few that are more perfect than Spider-Man's.
Yeah.
Like it is a perfect costume.
I like his.
I liked the Civil War suit. Like I like the updated with the black and the stuff, but
I want blue and red. His suit was cool. His new suit has been cool with the black and red. I want blue and red.
I agree. No. I mean, so when he first shows up in Civil War,
he's
got
one's
like
blue
the
and red
the black with the black on it
with the web, right?
Yeah.
It also sets up for like why he would move so quickly to the symbiote suit because he's making it out of cloth, which isn't going to hold up very well.
Nope.
So
sure not.
So like lays the groundwork for why he wants something better.
The fact that Marvel was like, yeah, we'll put him in the movie.
Yeah, this is cool. So
he's swinging through the city, in the red and blue costume, having a good
This is
time.
our reboot. Like they've already rebooted
And they've rebooted
themselves.
they've rebooted their MCU Spider-Man inside their own universe. So this does open the door for a Gwen Stacy, a Harry Osborn, a Norman Osborn, a different MJ, maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
No, because this one is MJ.
Yeah.
She's just.
I do
Mary,
like that.
She's
no,
just,
it's Michelle Jones Watson.
That's what I mean, Michelle Jones Watson.
Yeah,
so
not Mary
she
Jane
is
Watson.
MJ. It's just this universe's version. They're not going to have two MJs.
Yeah.
This is MJ.
I'm just saying, if they wanted to,
but they can't replace this MJ.
they can. They could do whatever they want.
But they can't.
I'm not saying it's a good idea.
Do you know the outrage?
I think-
Well, first of all, he's dating MJ, so not going to happen.
If it were me, what I would do is I would bring in the Black Cat. There's your love interest.
Yeah.
Felicia
Yeah,
Hardy can come in, or Gwen Stacy can come in.
Yeah.
Either one can come in at this
But I
point.
think you're going to get Felicia. You're going to get Gwen. You're going to get the typical, spider rogues.
Yeah,
and-
which I think is, and then that's kind of
Love
how this one
interests.
ends. And then we talked about the Venom thing, where
Yeah,
a piece of the symbiote gets left behind.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I love that they got rid of him. Like, that's great. But also, like as far as post credits go, I'm like, it was just a Venom post credit, like this Venom.
Well, I think the post credit is the trailer, is the Mouth of Madness trailer.
Yeah, but then that's a lame post credit too. I'm
I
just like,
agree.
I always wanted some Meteor that was like actually enjoyable.
Right.
But to their credit, they got rid of Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
So Tom
and it is setting up that Venom's in this world. Like
Right.
it's, you know what I mean?
Venom, yeah.
So I mean, it is I think maybe a little
Yeah.
meatier than you're giving it credit for. It's just you have an instant visceral reaction
Yes.
to seeing the
That
Venom,
know.
which I totally understand. But I do think it's a little bit meatier than you're giving
The
it credit
best
for.
thing is that so Tom Hardy disappears because he knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. That's what brought him in.
Oh.
And then he forgot.
No,
so
he
got
didn't. There is no Peter Parker. That's to your point, though. There is no Peter Parker in the Venom verse. He only sees Peter Parker after he's been transported to the MCU.
Oh, that was after? Because I knew he saw the news
He
thing. And I
does.
thought that's,
So he's wherever he is. He gets the multiverse thing washes over him, and he's in a different room.
That's the problem, because stupid Sony
Right.
had to try to bring him in, but at least they could undo it by the rules. They're like, well, he saw Peter Parker was Spider-Man on the news report, so he gets to leave. Why he's brought in
the Venom verse, there is no Peter Parker that we know of.
Well,
there probably is somewhere.
Yeah,
but
probably. But so, yeah, I don't know how he gets there, but he's out.
he's out.
But he leaves behind the symbiote.
The other good thing beyond just taking him out is this creates a plot device to where Sony can kind of do whatever they want, and it doesn't ultimately screw up the Marvel universe.
Correct.
Right? Like that's always been the big problem.
They could kill their Peter Parker if they wanted to.
do whatever they want.
Don't care.
And Sony can still, or
You know
Marvel
what
can
would-
still make it work.
You know what would be interesting is if Venom's Spider-Man is Miles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could do that.
But they're
Yeah.
going to want to bring him into MCU.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
For
That's the problem.
sure.
Is, man, wait until you get that and see what kind of box
I was
office
debating.
you
You know,
do.
it's funny. I'm sitting on the first appearance of Miles Morales, Ultimate Fallout #4.
Yeah.
Keep sitting.
And I'll maybe I'll move it, and then I was like, oh,
That character's not getting any less popular with the news.
That's what I'm saying.
I
I
gotta
gotta
eventually
wait.
comes in like, you just wait.
Yeah, they. I think they've got plans for that character
Yeah,
for sure.
big
so.
time.
But yeah, this was great. This is
you were absolutely right when you said it's a perfect comic book movie.
It really is. It's I mean, it's just a gem.
I want to see it again when I'm not sitting there going, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah,
Like,
I haven't smiled at a movie like that in a long time. Where I was just like smile is like, this is cool, and I can't believe that they're pulling this off.
Yeah.
Like this should not work. I mean, all these villains in one movie. It should be a train wreck. It should and it's not. And I think some of it is because we already know the villains.
yeah.
And so it's so there is
they've
that.
introduced them like with the Avengers.
Right,
They already had
and
their individual
and so I
movies.
don't need a 30-minute origin story for each superhero or each supervillain, but this should not have worked on paper,
Nope.
and it's just beautiful.
I think you have to give them credit because we go, well, of course they can pull this off. They're Marvel and Feige. They pulled off a 22 film, conclusion, right? So but if you sit back and forget what they've done before and on paper what they pull off with this, no one's ever done anything like this. I mean, to Joe's point earlier, just like how Endgame was an amazing, ambitious project, bringing in different franchises, all the same people, tying them together like on paper with rights, all that stuff.
Three rebooted movies
in one film, and it works.
And it's unbelievable. Like that's why I say sitting there, I'm like, do people
This is
realize
unbelievable.
what they're doing?
Yeah.
Like they're doing this. We're getting this. Like we
Spider-Verse I think Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man movie ever made. But like those were not established characters, right? They're just here's a scummy
Right.
Spider-Man, here's Miles,
They
here's
made it
Gwen,
work, but
here's-
they had.
There's
they
no
could do anything.
history
didn't
behind.
Have, they
there's
didn't
no
have the
history behind
shackles of what
Yeah.
came before in the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where this one's like, you know, those 3 live-action Spider-Mans that you love. Go check out our movie.
Before
We're gonna
this
bring 'em all
year-
in.
We'll give them to you all at
all
once.
at once.
Before this year, did you ever say, "Oh yeah, we're going to see Tobey Maguire in a Spider-Man movie"?
Yeah.
No.
Did you
Yeah.
think you're going to see Andrew Garfield? I mean, the fact that we got this, like, fans are so lucky.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
And it's
you
like-
kids don't even know how good you have it.
When I look at Vudu when they have things on sale, I'm always like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll pick up the Spider-Man movies, the Tobey Maguire ones when they're cheap. And it's like, but I always kind of skip the Andrew Garfield ones. Now I'm like, no, the next
Yeah,
time they're on
right?
sale, I'll snag those.
You love it when they elevate.
Yeah.
I
something
think
like
so.
this
We do
elevates.
have episodes. If you go back in the feed somewhere, there is a
Yeah.
I don't think there's an Amazing Spider-Man. I think that came out in 2012. There's definitely an Amazing Spider-Man 2 episode. And
I think we did both.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Did we?
Yeah, because it came out after Man of Steel. There's
Yeah.
no way there was a Spider-Man movie and we didn't do it.
No. That's true. I guess I thought that Man of Steel was 2013,
It is.
but that was our first episode.
Yeah.
So we couldn't have done the
Oh,
Amazing
Amazing
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man came out before?
I think it's
I think
20. I
it
think
did,
it's
yeah.
2012.
Oh, okay.
I think we
I liked
definitely
the first one.
I did too.
It was pointless, but I liked it. Like we didn't need another origin story, but the second one was not very good.
Not very good. There's got some good parts,
It does,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not very good overall. But there's an episode in the feed somewhere
Sure.
for number 2.
for
yeah.
number 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to scroll back to
Yeah.
2014.
Well, anyway, I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21.
This is Kevin. Follow me on Twitter at Kevin R. Brackett.
And this is Tom. You can follow me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online, facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon, patreon.com/Real Spoilers. So that's it for this one. No idea what we're doing next time, but we'll probably circle back around and do West Side again. No! Because Joe loved it so
Yeah,
much.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, next week is
The Matrix.
Matrix.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay. I still haven't
It's
seen the
also
other two.
Christmas, so we'll have to figure that out.
So anyway, we'll figure out something. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, the Jennings family goes back to San Francisco.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot.